والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. Alhamdulillah, it is a great blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has gathered us here in the masjid on a Friday night to listen to some advice, to listen to some dhikr, to listen to some praises of Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned about such gatherings, لا يقعد قوم يذكرون الله عز وجل إلا حفتهم الملائكة. That there are no people who gather in which the remembrance of Allah Ta'ala is taking place except that the angels, they are surrounding these gatherings. وَغَشِيَتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةِ. And the rahmah and the mercy of Allah Ta'ala is gushing down on these gatherings. وَنَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةِ. And the tranquility of Allah Ta'ala is descending upon such gatherings as well. وَذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. And Allah Ta'ala mentions every single person with those in the heavens. This is the virtue and the blessings of attending such gatherings in which the dhikr of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is taking place. Now, my dear respected brothers and sisters, as we all know, we are indeed in the month of Rabi'ul Awwal, the blessed month in which Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was born, the month in which Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also passed away in as well. Now we have to understand first and foremost, what is the purpose of such programs? What is the purpose of such events taking place in the masajid? This is the very important thing we have to understand. The purpose of such programs, it is to increase our love for Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to find connection with Rasulullah, to encourage ourselves to learn about Rasulullah. This is the ultimate purpose of such gatherings. Now, the Seerah of Rasulullah, the praise of Rasulullah, the Seerah and talking about Rasulullah should take place in every month of the year, not only in the month of Rabiul Awwal. Just like how it is virtuous to speak about Rasulullah in this month, the same exact virtue is in every other month of the year as well. Speaking about Rasulullah, conducting Seerah, praising Rasulullah in Muharram or Ramadan or Dhul Hijjah is the same reward and the same virtue like praising Rasulullah in the month of Rabiul Awwal. But the reason why many masajid, many institutes, they hold the Seerah program in the month of Rabiul Awwal is because it has a connection with the life of Rasulullah. It has a connection in the sense that he was born and he also passed away in this month. This is the reason why many masajid and institutes, they conduct the Seerah program in this month. But the Seerah of Rasulullah should be talked about every month of the year, every week of the month, every day of the week. This is how important such Seerah and such biography is. Now, like I mentioned, the main purpose of this program is to encourage ourselves to learn about Rasulullah, to know who Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was. Unfortunately, many of us, we are unable to speak for a few minutes about the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this is the unfortunate reality. Many a times we are unaware of the simple biography of Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. For example, who his parents were, who his children were. These are basic things that a person should know about their beloved. This is basic things that a person should know about their Nabi and their Prophet. So if we find ourselves not knowing the basics, then such programs are made for us to go back, to encourage ourselves, to motivate ourselves. Pick up the books of Seerah. Pick up the books in which the biography of Rasulullah is mentioned. And it is available in every language. In English, Urdu, Bangla, you name it, Chinese. In every single language, the biography of Rasulullah is mentioned. If you don't have money, you can download the PDF. There is no excuses now not to learn about the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So after such events and programs, we should go home and we should purchase a copy. And we should motivate ourselves to learn as much as possible regarding the life of Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now we all know in our Sharia, love of Rasulullah is a fundamental aspect. As Rasulullah Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى أكون أحب إليه من والده وولده والناس أجمعين. That no one can be a true and a complete and a perfect believer until I am more beloved to him than his parents, his children, and all of mankind. The only time we can become true believers and perfect believers is when our love for Rasulullah is more than anyone on the face of this earth. Now I'm going to ask everyone a question. Who over here loves Rasulullah? Raise your hands. I'm sure there's no one here that won't raise their hand. And you may be thinking, what kind of question is this? What's happening with the Imam today? He's asking such a weird question, such a basic question. Everyone loves Rasulullah, even if whether they're practicing or they're not practicing. But let me ask you another question. And this is a question you should be asking yourselves. I won't ask you. Where are the alamat, the signs and indicators that show our love of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Like how everyone, they raise their hands. And everyone can say, I love Rasulullah. But the question we have to ask ourselves, what signs in my life, in my appearance, in my talk, in my walk, indicates towards the fact that I love Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Ask yourself these questions and name a few things that if a person were to see you, they are reminded of Rasulullah or the companions in some type of way. Because إِنَّ الْمُحِبَّ لِمَنْ يُحِبُّ مُطِيعُهُ. When a person loves someone, he follows him, he obeys him, he honors him, he knows about him. He wants to walk like him, he wants to dress like him, he wants to look like him. This is love for a person. Now we can say we love people, but if we don't know about the person, we cannot speak about his simple biography. We don't know how he used to dress, we don't know how he used to talk, we don't know how he used to act, we don't know how he used to treat the people. Then how can we say we love Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? This is a very deep question. I have to ask myself first, and everyone has to ask themselves as well. That if I don't know about Rasulullah, then how can I act according to his life? How can I embody the life of Rasulullah? How can I bring all his aspects of his life into my life if I don't even know about him? And if I cannot do this, then it is said, مَا حُبٌّ إِلَّا طَاعَةٌ, that there is no love except obedience. If you love someone, like if you love Rasulullah, you have to obey him, you have to follow him. But if you don't know about him, you don't know his seerah, you don't know his lifestyle, then how can you act like him? How can you be like him? Is it possible? It's not possible. So first and foremost, the very first thing we have to do, learn about Rasulullah, ilm of Rasulullah, the life of Rasulullah, who he was, how he used to treat the people. Nowadays the kids, they can speak about their celebrities and their athletes for hours, and they can debate for their person that they like. This is love, but love for the wrong person. This is destruction. The adults, they can speak about politics. We know the election is coming up. People, they have their sides. Some on this side, some on that side. We can defend our party for hours. Or the politics back home, we can speak for days regarding those politics. And we know all the politicians. We know who's right, who's wrong, and we will defend my politician until the day of election. And anyone who says anything about him, I'm not going to let him say anything. I'm going to defend this person. You know everything about him. Can we do the same for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? This is a serious question. Can we do the same for Rasulullah? This is what these programs are for, to encourage and motivate ourselves to do the same for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي. Say, if you love Allah, follow me. Yani follow Rasulullah. يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهِ. Allah Ta'ala will love you. وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. And Allah Ta'ala will forgive your sins as well. This is a very important and a very deep ayah. Allah Ta'ala is making His love and His forgiveness contingent and conditional upon ittiba' al-Rasul, upon following the sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. You want Allah Ta'ala to love you? Follow and obey Rasulullah. This is what the ayah is saying. You want Allah Ta'ala to forgive you? Follow and obey Rasulullah. This is what the ayah is saying. If you want to be forgiven, if you want the mahabba and the love of Allah, fattabi'uni. Follow Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And how can you follow him? After you learn about him. And whatever you learn, you implement that into your life. That's why we cannot say enough about ilm and knowledge. This is the first thing. To learn, learn, and learn. And once you learn, there will be no benefit of your ilm if you don't implement that in your life. If the ilm is without amal, then instead of the ilm being beneficial, it will be harmful for you because you know and you still didn't do it. So again, ilm and then amal. We have to learn about Rasulullah and we have to act according to the sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Moving along, there are many beautiful characteristics and traits of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. We can sit here for the entire night and we cannot finish talking about the beauty and the beautiful life of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But I want to highlight, before moving on one of his greatest characteristics that stand out, that he was praised for in the Quran, that he himself said, I was sent for this reason. And that is the akhlaq and the character of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. This is very important to speak about because unfortunately, many people, they are lacking in good akhlaq. Many people, they are lacking in good characteristics and good manners. Where can we learn good akhlaq? Where can we learn the best akhlaq? From Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. How important is akhlaq? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said in a hadith, ما من شيء أثقل في ميزان المؤمن يوم القيامة من خلق حسن. That there is nothing which is more heavy and more weighty on the scale of deeds than good akhlaq. We know there is a scale of deeds on the day of Qiyamah. On one side is the good deeds, on the left side is the bad deeds. Wherever the scale tilts towards will be your final destination. If your scale tilts towards the good deeds, inshallah you will be going to Jannah. If your scale tilts towards the bad deeds, then it is in the hukum and the command of Allah Ta'ala. We ask Allah for forgiveness. What is the thing that will be the heaviest, that will almost guarantee your scale to tilt towards the right side? That is the good akhlaq as said by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Where do you learn good akhlaq? From Rasulullah. Why? Because he was praised for it in the Quran. Allah Ta'ala praised Rasulullah where he said in Surah Al-Qalam, وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. Indeed, you Rasulullah, you have the best akhlaq. No one can come close to you when it comes to manners and characteristics. He himself alayhi salam said, بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I have been sent to complete the good akhlaq. You want to have good akhlaq? You want the akhlaq and good manners to come and intercede for you on the day of Qiyamah and put your skill towards the right side? Follow the akhlaq of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I will only take a couple of the akhlaq of Rasulullah before moving along. Anas ibn Malik radiallahu ta'ala anhu, who was the khadim and the servant of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said a very beautiful hadith. He said, خَدِمْتُ النَّبِيَّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ 10 سِنِينَ. I served Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for 10 complete years. فَمَا قَالَ لِي أُفٍّ قَطُّ. And he never ever said uff to me, not even once. وَلِمَ صَنَعْتَ وَلِمَا لَا صَنَعْتَ. Nor did he ever say to me, why did you do this or why did you not do this? Many of us, we are bosses. We own companies. We have people under us. How do we treat our employees? Do we treat them like slaves? Do we treat them like less than how a human is supposed to be treated? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never said uff to this man. And he never scolded him. And he never raised his voice at him. This is the akhlaq of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So ila Aisha an akhlaq Rasulullah. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, the wife of Rasulullah, she was asked regarding the akhlaq of Rasulullah. She said, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. His akhlaq was the Quran. He was a walking, talking Quran. Whatever the Quran said to do, he did. Whatever the Quran said stay away from, he stayed away from. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. لم يكن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فاحشا ولا لعانا ولا سبابا. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam neither had a foul mouth, nor did he curse anyone, nor did he speak any immodest language. This was the tongue of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nowadays, After every other sentence, a curse is coming out of our mouth. After every other sentence, we are backbiting about someone. After every other sentence, we are looking down upon someone. After every other sentence, we are making fun of someone. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never hurt a single being with his mouth and with his tongue. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah. Never hurt anyone through his tongue by backbiting, by looking down upon them, by making fun of them, by lying, by slandering. You will never find in the seerah, in the history, that something bad or evil came out of the mouth and the tongue of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Also another ayah, Allah Ta'ala praised Rasulullah, فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. Because of the rahmah of Allah, you were merciful to them, Ya Rasulullah. Hundreds and thousands of people, they accepted Islam, not because Rasulullah came to them and said, I am the final messenger, I am warning you of a painful punishment, believe in the oneness of Allah. When he did da'wah like this to many people, as we're going to hear, many of them rejected him. But what was the main source of da'wah of Rasulullah? His akhlaq. He came to a barbaric nation. He changed people through his akhlaq. He made people accept Islam through his good characteristics and through his good mannerism. One sahabi, he mentioned, لا ما رأيت رجلا أكثر تبسما من رسول الله. I've never seen a man more smiling and having more of a smiling face than Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Do not belittle any good deed, even if it is meeting your brother with a smiling face. Nowadays, many of us, we always have a frown. We are always angry. So I don't know what's the reason. There is no payment to smile. Sometimes when we go home, we are always frowning. You know what Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said? She said that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never ever entered the house with a frown. He always entered with a smile on his face. This is how Rasulullah always entered the house to his wives and his children. Always with a smile on his face. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha also said that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam never even once raised his voice at me. This was the akhlaq of Rasulullah. This is how he used to treat his wives. We know if we have a bad day at work or something bad went on, we come home, we are very angry. We don't know who to take it out on. Either our children or our wife. When we have a bad day, something went wrong, we come home, we are very angry. We don't know what to do, we can't control ourselves, and we take it out on those who are in our homes. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, my dear respected brothers and sisters, went through more difficulty and more hardships than you can ever imagine. But yet he was still able to put his problems outside the door before he entered the house. You know how we take off our shoes before we enter the house? Similarly, we have to make sure we take off our problems and we leave it there and we enter the house. You cannot say, I had a bad day, that's why I am not smiling. No one had worse days than Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yet, he was able to enter the house with a smile and show good manners and akhlaq and show kindness and softness with those in his family as well. This is the akhlaq we have to learn from Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Couple of things to mention before we end off. This kalima la ilaha illallah, this iman that has reached you and I, and we are all sitting here alhamdulillah as Muslims, it did not come to us easily. There was a lot of hardships, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of efforts that took place before us in order for this kalima to enter our hearts. And that was the sacrifice and the hardships of the Sahaba and of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The reason why I'm going to mention just a single of the hardships of Rasulullah, even though there were many, is because when we hear the hardships of Rasulullah, it will increase our love for him. For example, when we hear about the hardships our parents went through for us, when we hear what our mothers went through to bring us into this life, and what our mothers went through to raise us as a baby with all, with all the things we come with as a child, then we will appreciate our mothers more. We will respect them more. We will love them more. We will honor them more. We will listen to them more. When we learn and we hear about the hardships our fathers went through to put food on our table, to put a roof above our heads, we will appreciate our fathers more. We will love him more. We will listen to him more because of the hardships he went through for you and I. My dear respected brothers and sisters, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went through hardships for the best thing to come to us, the biggest ni'mah. There is no bigger ni'mah than that of the ni'mah of La ilaha illallah. And who went through that hardships for it to reach us? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Yes, our parents and people around us, they went through a lot of sufferings for great things to come to us. But there is nothing greater than the ni'mah of La ilaha illallah. Through the efforts and the sacrifice of Rasulullah, we are sitting here saying La ilaha illallah and praying to Allah Ta'ala. One of the hardships which is indicative of this point and also explains this point as well, where did Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam suffer the most? This was when he went to Taif. After years of persecution from the Quraysh, of the Meccans, and constantly calling them towards Allah, he said, they are not listening to me. Let me go to Taif. Perhaps the people of Taif, they may accept my call. And many of us, when we went for Umrah, we also visited the place of Taif. It is not too far away from the city of Mecca. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he made his way from Mecca to Mukarramah to Taif, and he began calling the people towards the oneness of Allah. And he began calling people towards Tawheed, and that he is the final messenger, and he is warning them of the day of Qiyamah, and for them to simply accept Islam. He said, I am not coming here to ask for some money. I am not coming here for you to give me some honor and respect and make me a king or a leader. I am not asking for anything. I am simply asking you to obey Allah Ta'ala alone and to take me as your messenger, and I will lead you towards the straight path and the path towards Jannah. You know how they responded? Like I said, many people, when Rasulullah came with these types of words, they rejected him. And they rejected him in the harshest way imaginable. They said things such like the sorts of, could God or could Allah not send anyone better than you? These are very hurtful comments. These are very hurtful comments. They said, could Allah not have sent anyone better than you? Allah sent you as a prophet, look at you. These are very hurtful and very discouraging as well. And they began to mock him. They began to spit at him. The young children, they were spitting at him. The women were spitting at him. And they were throwing pebbles and stones and rocks at him as well, to such an extent that when he was running out of the city of Taif, out of severe persecution, his Mubarak shoe was filled with blood. Imagine, you do not start bleeding after a couple of rocks. You do not start bleeding after 2 or 3 rocks. It means there were many rocks and stones thrown at him for his Mubarak shoe to be filled with blood. And not only that, but he also became unconscious, laying on the ground. Habibullah Sayyidul Mursaleen, filled with blood, lying down unconscious. This is Rasulullah, what he went through. And there was Zayd ibn Haritha, his mutabanna, his adopted son, took him out of the city of Taif, and they went to the nearest garden. The nearest garden outside, they sat under the tree in that garden. Do you know who this garden belonged to? This garden belonged to Utbah ibn Rabi'ah. Who was Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, you may ask? Utbah ibn Rabi'ah was the biggest enemy of Islam. Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, he held the flag for the Quraysh in the Battle of Badr. He was one of the prominent leaders of the Quraysh, one of the biggest enemies of Islam, one of the biggest enemies of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And you know what his entire life was based upon? You know what he was thinking about day and night? It was to plot a murder and to plot to kill Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. His day and night would be, how can I plot and plan to kill Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? This was his only plan. This was his only job. And look at the situation. Rasulullah is all alone. He is weak. He is wounded. He is blood. He has blood. He is unconscious. He is in my garden. I have the strength. This is what I wanted all along. For my entire life I've been plotting and planning. I couldn't do it. This is a golden opportunity. There is no way for me not to take this opportunity. This was the perfect opportunity for him to just kill him then and there. This is what he wanted for his entire life. But you know what he did? He had his servant there by the name of Addas, and he told Addas, take these grapes and give it to that man. And tell him, because of our relationship, because we are both from Quraysh, do not reject these grapes from me. And Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, he began to cry and he began to shed tears, looking at the condition of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He said, Ya Muhammad, what has the people of Ta'if done with you? Imagine, the enemies of Islam, those who hated him, they shed tears for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When was the last time you and I, we shed a tear for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? We did durood upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The enemies of Islam, when they saw the condition of Rasulullah, he began crying. And this is where Rasulullah, when he was under the tree, he said, and he called upon Allah, he said, Ya Allah, you sent me to my enemies. You sent me to a disbelieving people. You see what is going on with me today, but I do not complain. I am pleased with whatever you will. And then and there, Jibreel alayhi salam, he came down. He said, Ya Rasulullah, say to destroy them, in a matter of seconds I will destroy all the people of Ta'if. I will take these two mountains and I will crush every single one of them. Imagine, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked, where did you suffer the most persecution in your 23 years of prophethood? After revelation was given to you, he's undoubtedly Ta'if. This was the worst. This was the hardest. And we know Rasulullah, the hardships he went through. And he said this was the hardest. Imagine you and I, we were asked this question. Someone, he did something small to me. And someone said, do you want me to take revenge for you? What are you going to say? Yes, go ahead, I'm going to help you. These were people who made him unconscious. For what? He simply asked them to believe in Allah Ta'ala. He simply asked them to follow his sunnah so that they can go towards Jannah. Very golden chance for these enemies to be destroyed by a single yes of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You know what he said? He said to Jibreel, لَعَلَّ اللَّهَ أَن يُخْرِجَ مِنْ أَصْلَابِهِمْ مَنْ يُوَحِّدُ اللَّهِ. These people, they are not Muslim, these people of Ta'if. They kicked me out of their city. But I have hope, and perhaps just one from their lineage will say, La ilaha illallah. Do not kill them. Maybe one person will accept Islam. And this is so happened after the battle of Hunayn. The tribe of Banu Thaqif, they were from Ta'if and they still inhabit the land of Ta'if as well. They played a very important role in the history of Islam, and they also spread towards parts of Asia and towards parts of Africa because of the dua of Rasulullah. Many of the people of Ta'if, including the Banu Thaqif, they accepted Islam later on. So the tree bore fruits as well. This was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is the meaning of rahmatul lil alameen, mercy to mankind. And where he said, bu'ithtu rahmatan, I have been sent as a rahmah and a mercy. I have not been sent as someone to punish people. I have not been someone to destroy people. And there is a very big lesson for us. What is the lesson? You and I, we have some small misunderstanding amongst one another. We have some small debate, small misunderstanding, but we won't speak to each other ever again. We separate, we make different jama'ats. We don't want to look at each other anymore. We don't want to say salam to each other anymore. For the smallest things, learn from Rasulullah. These people, what did they do to him? You cannot even imagine. But yet he was still able to forgive them. And because of his forgiveness, we saw what happened in the history of Islam. We cannot forgive for the smallest things. Very small, minute things we cannot forgive. This is what it means by learning from the Seerah of Rasulullah and adopting the Sunnah of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I will end off by mentioning the mahabbah and the love that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam he had for you and I. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was once sitting with his companions and he said that I wish to meet my brothers. I want to meet my brothers. The Sahabas, they said, Ya Rasulullah, what's wrong? Where are your brothers? Tell us what's going on, we'll take care of you. He said, Antum ashabi, you are my companions. Ikhwani alladhina amanu bi wa lam yarawni. My brothers are those who believe in me, but they have not yet seen me. Yani he's speaking about you and I. He called us his brothers. He had a wish and a desire to meet you and I. Imagine if Rasulullah were to come today and his wish was fulfilled. What would he say about the ummah? That he had a longing and a desire to meet such an ummah which does not know the simple seerah. Such an ummah does not know the simple hardships he went through. What would he feel? What would he say if he were to come today? His feet would be swollen out of excessive prayer for the Muslim and his ummah in night prayer and tahajjud. And he said, أَفَلَا أَكُونُ عَبْدًا شَكُورًا? Should I be a grateful servant of Allah Ta'ala? On the day of Qiyamah, when every single person will say, Nafsi, Nafsi, Hatta al-Anbiya, the prophets, Nafsi, Nafsi, they will not worry about anyone else besides themselves. Only one being will say, Ummati, Ummati. Ya Allah, protect my ummah. Ya Allah, protect my ummah. And when the people, they trace back the voice, they will see it is Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam praying for his ummah. The other Anbiya, Nafsi, Nafsi. Adam alayhi salam, Nafsi, Nafsi. Musa, Harun, Nafsi, Nafsi. Rasulullah, Ummati, Ummati. This was Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Which ummah? That ummah which cannot even pray 5 times a day. That ummah which does not know the simple seerah of Rasulullah. That ummah which did not realize the hardships Rasulullah went through in the battle of Uhud, his family in the battle in Karbala, and all the hardships he went through. Rather, what he should have said was, take them away from me. I sacrificed my life for them. I sacrificed everything for them. Yet they did not tend to realize my sunnah and to follow my path. Take them away from me. This is what he should have said. But instead he would be saying, Ummati, Ummati. This is the love of Rasulullah for you and I. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, once she asked Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah, make a dua for me. And Rasulullah said, Allahumma gfir li Aisha ما تقدم من ذنبها وما تأخرت وما أسرت وما أعلنت. That Ya Allah, forgive all the previous sins of Aisha. Forgive all the future sins of Aisha. Forgive all the sins that she has committed in public. And forgive all the sins that she have committed in private and in secret. She was so happy. And she was jumping up and down. Rasul said, what are you doing? Why are you so happy? She said, look at the powerful dua you made for me. You are Sayyidul Mursaleen, Habibullah, Rasulullah, and you made such a powerful dua for me. How do you not expect me to be happy? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, إِنَّهَا لَدَعْوَتِي لِأُمَّتِي فِي كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ. This is the dua that I make for my ummah after every single salah. This is the love of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. إِنَّهَا لَدَعْوَتِي لِأُمَّتِي فِي كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ. This same dua that I made for you, which makes you so happy, is the same dua I make for my ummah every single day. Do we have the same love for Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? What words can we use to describe and praise Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? وَأَحْسَنُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَرَ قَطُّ عَيْنِي. No eye has ever seen anyone more beautiful than you. This is the shi'r of Hassan ibn Thabit radiallahu ta'ala an, the poet of the Sahaba. He said, my eyes have not seen anyone more beautiful than you, Ya Rasulullah. وَأَجْمَلُ مِنْكَ لَمْ تَلِدِ النِّسَاء. And no woman has given birth to anyone more beautiful than you, Ya Rasulullah. خُلِقْتَ مُبَرَّأً مِنْ كُلِّ عَيْبٍ. You have been created without any faults, without any shortcomings, without any defects. كَأَنَّكَ قَدْ خُلِقْتَ كَمَا تَشَاءُ. As if you created yourself. The Sahaba, when they looked at Rasulullah, when they would look at him, they would think that he had the power to create himself. His appearance, his akhlaq, the way he used to carry himself. Imagine if we had the choice and we had the power to make our height, our body parts, we would be the most beautiful person. But this was how Rasulullah was. It's as if he created himself and he built himself. This is how perfect Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was. ما أنا مدحت محمدا بمقالتي ولكن مدحت مقالتي بمحمد. I am not praising Rasulullah through my words, because Rasulullah's honor is beyond the roof. My words are not adding to the honor of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. ولكن مدحت مقالتي بمحمد. But rather my words and my speech is praised and beautiful because of the mention of Rasulullah in it. The reason why this speech sounds good is because the word and the name of Rasulullah was mentioned. Now I am not praising Rasulullah. I am not honoring Rasulullah. He's already honored and praised. But my words are effective because the mention and the name of Rasulullah was taking place. This was also the shi'r of Hassan ibn Thabit radiallahu ta'ala an. So my dear respected brothers and sisters, again, humble encouragement, learn about Rasulullah, pick up the books of Seerah, live your life according to the sunnah of Rasulullah. Because wallahi, success in this life and the hereafter lies in following the footsteps of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah Ta'ala give us all the tawfiq to understand and to act upon what has been said. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.